Hello and welcome to another episode of the FemiNinja Project. And thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. As always, I have a fascinating guest with me today. We are going to learn an awful lot about natural health and healing. His name is Simone Lüthi, and he is the Chief Wellness Officer of Sacred Healing LLC, and creator of Applied Neuro-Cellular Therapy, which combines modern technology and ancient wisdom into a unique and powerful healing modality. He is a corporate strategist and alternative medicine practitioner. He is also the CEO and founder of Healthee Inc., a unique wellness as a service software platform, helping companies save money on healthcare costs while encouraging their employees to get and stay healthy. Boy, we really need that right about now in our society. Simone has leveraged a personal health crisis to enhance the well-being of 300 plus clients with a focus on healing trauma, physical pain, and mental and emotional limitations. He is on a mission to change the way we think about healthcare and stress management. He draws on his 30 plus years of corporate experience and his own personal health journey to provide health and wellness solutions to both employers and individuals. Simone, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the show.
Hi, Cheryl. Thanks for having me. So great
That
to be here and share a little bit of what I know, and hopefully draw some inspiration for folks that are out there.
Well, it seems like you do know a lot, and you have quite the experience. Your both professional and personal journey has just been incredibly diverse and so interesting.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I guess I had, like many of us, had to learn the hard way.
Yeah, well, I know, but
But it's been a fascinating journey for sure.
and out of our trials and tribulations, I think really once we get through it, we can see the blessings and how much we've learned through the process. And just look at what you're doing now; it's just fantastic.
Well, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I really do hope to change the way we think about healthcare in America, and really the
Mhm.
world. If you think about it, my heart and my appreciation goes out to all the healthcare workers. On the same token, our healthcare system, I think, is just broken, and
Mhm.
there is luckily a shift to more holistic, to more integrated ways of thinking about it. But we have a long ways to go. So
Yeah.
hopefully, I can help you unpack this a little bit, my
Mhm.
experiences, share what I went through, and
Mhm.
kind of what I feel like could be a blueprint to redesign and put this back together.
Mhm. Well, I don't know if you saw it on my profile, but I'm actually a healthcare practitioner or had been in traditional healthcare for 40 years. I was a respiratory therapist for almost 20 years and then a non-traditional physical therapist for 20 years before I closed my private practice. So the things I've seen in the changing of healthcare and the whole healthcare system when I first started back in, I will admit it, 1978, to when I left, it was just, we've really kind of taken a few wrong turns.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've learned this through my own journey. Maybe this is a good time to kind of just share a little bit of what I went through. This was back in 2016 or not 15, I think. I was on a mission trip with my son in the Dominican Republic,
Mm.
and like day four, I've all of a sudden had really severe shoulder pain. And I thought, mid 40s probably. I'm just getting old and did too much physical labor, all the things, and got back to Arizona, and it just didn't get any better. What do?
Mhm.
You go see your orthopedic surgeon and kind of say maybe there's something there. After multiple MRIs, and oh, you have an impingement and so I thought, okay, he must know what he's talking about. Go to PT. Got worse and worse and worse,
Mm.
from one shoulder to the next shoulder. And really, 3 months later, I found myself completely bedridden, couldn't get out of bed in the morning, completely inflamed. So it took me, a good half an hour to just move my
Oh,
hands and open that, go into the pool, do water aerobics and all that. And then what do? You go to the best clinic that you have in town to go figure out what is wrong with me. So I've seen a rheumatologist there, and did a bunch of other tests and x-rays, and prodded and poked, and finally he came out with some plausible explanation. They diagnosed it as a seronegative inflammatory arthritis, basically meaning you're inflamed, we don't know why. And then he was supposed to put me on malaria medication. So Plaquenil is the med. But I have to say thank you, doc, because he said one key thing to me. He goes, well, I want you to go see an ophthalmologist because one of the rare side effects of all that, you could go blind. And I thought, my eyes are the only thing that is working right now. Like, why would I possibly mess with the last part of my body that I feel like is fully functioning?
Question, wait a minute, just to make sure, that was a possible side effect of the medication he was gonna put you on to make you better?
That's right. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah. And now I see so many clients, same similar story, different diagnosis, but like, okay, well, you're diagnosed with this, they put you on that, they're going to give you another medication for the side effects of the first one that's and I at that point intimately knew I needed to go and wanted to get to the root cause of what made me sick in the first place. Can't tell you why.
mhm,
I was married at the time to a Western trained nurse. Of course, you can imagine what that went when I go, I'm not going to go that route. I'm going to go the different route. That's a
mhm.
story for another podcast. But divinely guided, I ended up then in a clinic in Switzerland that did the right tests. And they basically said, oh, what's causing this? You have a heavy metal toxicity. You're full of mercury. You're full of arsenic. You're uh, and uh, and you have a pesticide poisoning, and you have a food allergy. So we need you to go through chelation therapy, which is basically getting the heavy metals out. We have to clean out the pesticides, and then we have to change your diet. Now, the part or the journey was definitely about a year before I was, completely healed. But you're looking at me now, like 8 years later, and I
Mhm.
don't take anything. I'm completely fine. I'm functioning, and that is really kind of the starting point for me to start paying attention to autoimmune, right?
Mhm.
What we call autoimmune and what people are going through. It's rampant in the
Mhm.
United States or in the Western world, I should say, and it is misdiagnosed. I
Mhm.
would say 90-95%. I would take a wild guess if we went through all the
Mhm.
cases that are there. And so that's really why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I do want
Mhm.
to talk about that there is help out there. But the challenge is a lot of those lab tests that I had to go through, they're available in the US. Your doctor probably doesn't recommend them and or doesn't know about them. And then when you do want to do the test, it's out of pocket. So these can be $600, $800, $1,000 to get tested. It's a
Mhm.
bit of a rabbit hole. You have to go to a biological dentist to get all of your amalgams out of your teeth, and that
Mhm.
has to be done safely. So it's not something that is easy to do yet.
Yeah.
But the fact of it is, we should actually be working towards a healthcare system that gets you healthy and keeps
Mhm.
you healthy. So you don't have to come back again to side effects and or something else, that's coming out of this. And, the good news is we're starting to talk about it. We have people like you that are making information available, to
Mhm.
folks out there. And it's going to have to be a little grassroots, I think,
Mhm.
to get there. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful.
Mm. Well, I think we are making progress. I think that there are a lot of people who are talking about alternative health and healing, and I've had a lot of them on my show, of course, and many of them are medical doctors. They're MDs that are like, wait a minute, the traditional way is not working, and we need to find another way. And so that's been very heartening, for me myself, to hear that. But I'm really curious about the chelation therapy. What was that like? Did you end up feeling worse before you felt better?
No, it never felt worse. It just took a gradual increase of kind of, all right, I'm slowly starting to feel better. It's hard, right? When you're day to day, am I
Right.
really feeling better, or am I just, making this up? So the chelation therapy is administered intravenously. It's a salt compound that goes in that binds the heavy metals, and then you pass it through your urine.
Mhm.
Um, the challenge with the chelation therapies here in the US is that there's three compounds that you need in order for you to get it out. There's only two compounds that are FDA approved. And the third one that you need is the one that gets it out of your brain, right? So you think about kind of the gelatin and all that stuff that you have out there and fatty tissues. And so, yeah, you can go through the chelation here, but it will not get you completely. So a lot of the neurological, autoimmune, MS, all these other things, remain to be active because you're not actually addressing it, full force. So I had to go to Germany to get the treatments there, and you need a good either naturopathic doc, a good integrative medicine specialist, because you can't just all take it out. You have to make sure you get other yummy IVs in that, with the
Mhm,
minerals and vitamins to re-nourish your body of the
mhm,
things that have been taken out. But again, I'm hopeful here that we're slowly starting to have a dialogue on it and
mhm,
make doctors, and I'm so pleased to hear that there's other MDs out there that are slowly starting to see, oh wow, like there are things, there is knowledge, there is studies that
mhm,
have been done. This isn't woo, this is stuff that's fact-based and scientifically proven to work.
mhm.
It's
I
just a matter
actually
of apply
I
that.
actually did interview an MD who was an orthopedic surgeon, and he left a very lucrative practice to start his own functional medicine clinic, where he was like so discouraged because all of the patients he was seeing, he was fixing them after they had fractures. And he was like, why are we not teaching our patients how to prevent fractures rather than me having to put them together later once they are, in pain and they have had a fracture. So that's basically what he's starting this whole new practice. And I mean, it's taking off. So there are a lot of people out there who are doing this and spreading the word that there are different ways of healing naturally. That isn't the Western medicine mindset. And I have to tell you, I laughed when you were talking about your ex-wife who was Western medicine trained, a nurse. I was a Western medicine trained respiratory therapist, and then a physical therapist along the way. But when I had a chronic pain syndrome, and that lasted for 2.5 years, and I went through exactly the same thing that you went through. A lot of times I was told it was in my head at first, and then they started looking for things, and they found some arthritis in my spine that was so severe. I was told never to do your laundry and your grocery shopping in the same day because you're going to end up being bedridden. Right? And then all of the medications and what I call, and I can say this now because I am a physical therapist, the stupid exercises and stretches they gave me that not only didn't help me get any better, it actually made me worse. After 2.5 years of living like that, when I was finally told to start applying for disability, that's when I saw the light. And it was like, you know what? This isn't working. I need to find another way. So I fired my medical team, stopped taking the medications, stopped doing the stupid stretches and exercises, and I taught myself how to move all over again, and use the way that we learned how to move when we were babies and children. The only one thing that I added was acupuncture. And
Wow. Yeah.
even though when I went into my first acupuncture session, yes, I was wearing a disguise, and fake mustache and glasses. I didn't want anybody to see me because I was so embarrassed, going to get acupuncture. But that changed my life and the trajectory of where I was. I mean, and look at me now. That was 30 years ago.
It's a beautiful modality, and it's so interesting that you bring up PT, because when I went to the PT, they put me on, the electropulse therapy, and I didn't know at the time, but I'm actually highly electromagnetic hypersensitive. So not only didn't it work, it actually made me worse.
Made you worse.
Right. So it's part of where I'm at and how I got into my healing modality in terms of sensing things. But
Hmm.
there's a lot of people out there that have are highly, highly sensitive to electromagnetic frequencies. And for me, it was the silly thing of actually having my bedroom and sleeping on the opposite wall where the sprinkler system controller was mounted. So just the fact that there was currency going through and that there was the controller, and once we started to shift the bed around, even that brought, minor improvements, but it did bring some improvements. And so that's the big thing too. Like when you go to the PT, that of course, that's one of the modalities that we've been using for whatever,
Hmm.
decades, but it's not working for everyone.
Right. Yeah, I think the same thing happened to me because they were actually doing, it was ultrasound. They were doing ultrasound like directly over where the initiation of the pain was, and that was on my spine. And then in PT school, it's like, oh, you never do ultrasound over the spine. Well, okay, that could have heated it up a little bit, heated up the nerves. But I'm glad that you mentioned, small increments, small increments of feeling better. When you're going through something like this and you're going through your healing journey, you can't think of, oh, I still have pain, or, oh, I still can't function the way I did or the way I want to. You have to really be able to appreciate those very small increments of improvement and celebrate them because they honestly do add up.
Absolutely. And it's a compounding problem sometimes of why an illness shows up in the first place, right? So the
Hmm.
body shows, hey, you are in not in congruence with something. There's something that's not in balance. And the question then is, do you fight it
Hmm.
or do you start listening?
Mhm.
And the start listening part, I feel, is the ultimate, healing modality there. But it's hard, right? Sometimes that's not. We want kind of immediate results,
Mhm.
and having or saying yes to a journey like that
Mhm.
is not as easy. But I would say when you come out of on the other side and you go, oh my
Mhm.
goodness, like I'm so glad I've done it.
Mhm.
It's there's some real good juices in there in terms of wisdom and things,
Mhm.
and the body, I believe, will show you that there, hey,
Mhm.
pay attention, it's time to
Mhm.
change something. What is not in congruence in your life, in your
Mhm.
relationships, in your jobs, in the way
Mhm.
that you eat, in the way that you exercise, and so it's not that you're sick, it's just something is
Mhm.
happening, and
Mhm.
pay attention to what it is.
And you're right, it's not easy and it's pretty frightening. But on the other hand, it's incredibly empowering when you can take, your healthcare, your 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 trajectory into your own hands rather than giving your power. You're basically giving your authority, your personal authority to somebody else to decide how you're going to live your life and how you're going to get through this or how you're going to stay in this pattern of pain and dysfunction. Once you can take charge of your own life, that is just the greatest feeling in the world because you're not relying on somebody else who might not have your best interest in mind or at heart or don't have the time. And all they know is to give you more medications and more exercises and stretches.
Absolutely. And the mind is powerful as
Mhm.
well. And I'm always amazed at the power we're giving doctors in that sense, right? So you go with something that you don't know what's happening. You are in good faith that you're going to get good advice.
Mhm.
But it's another human as well. So like, what do you expect with whatever complicated symptoms that a doctor that, all of a sudden goes, oh, that's what it is. But it's also just a diagnosis that is human made. So I'll give you an example, actually two examples. That one from a client, so had nerve shit, pain and like limbs that were shaking and wasn't really sure what was going on. Going to the doctor, and now the doctor says, I don't know, could be MS. Okay, so now you put this word MS, frightening diagnosis, in your brain, and the question I have to this doctor, did you find it and you activated it? And now this poor person is basically frightened her or his entire life, right? On, oh my God, like it could be this. So
Mhm.
my question then is, if the mind is powerful and we can heal through our mind as well, should we be careful when we are letting other people tell us
Mhm.
what it is that we have, right? Because it
Mhm.
may or may not be true.
Mhm.
And the personal example and why I really strongly believe that is in 2020, after all of this, I had a bout with cancer.
Mhm.
Um, and I was literally in the like, okay, up here, spirit, like, what are we doing? Like, seriously, I've just healed myself, and now we're looking at something else. No, can't be. And the interesting part about that was that at the time, and I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So I guess if you do need or want to be diagnosed with someone else, that's what you want because it's very treatable. Um, and I threw the kitchen sink at it, and I'm completely fine. But I found myself a year later, all of a sudden feeling sensations in my throat again of like, this feels like the same thing again. And I started to engage with a medical medium and like figuring out like what is really at the root. Why is this coming in? And disclaimer, I've had throat issues all my life.
Mhm.
And so it was just the latest thing of like, what am I not paying attention, in my throat? And the interesting thing for me was that, and we're going to go a little woo woo here on this, but I was told that in previous incarnations, I committed suicide. And my goal in this lifetime was to die of a natural death. So that's kind of a profound statement in itself, right? But then I was reminded that my mother would always say, "Okay, boys, colon cancer runs in our family. Please go have colonoscopies." And I would mentally say to myself, often, "Cancer is not my future. Cancer is not my future." Well, the universe and or your body doesn't understand the word no or not. But the fact that you repeat this word over and over and over again, my theory is that, can we actually inadvertently bring something on that we didn't want to bring on? Because what I then, my point in all this is afterwards, I said, oh, let me reframe that And let's say I am, living a long and healthy life. I'm healthy. And I would repeat that for, 30 to 60 times a day, 30, 60 days. I can't remember exactly what it was, but that all went away. So I have not taken any other medication. I have not done anything else to it. So the mind is powerful. And I think the manifestation efforts and capabilities that we have as humans is probably equal, if not more important to any other treatments that, that we're doing. And so go back to this person that was told by doctor to MS, right? So if you now you spend a lot of time of like erasing that out, but rather than fighting it and being fearful of, live a long and healthy life. I'm healthy. Try that. That's like a really good, practical advice for anyone listening with any kind of symptoms that they have out there, because it works.
That's one thing that happened with me during that chronic pain syndrome, is that I was told over and over again, I was a chronic pain patient. And it was, when I finally had my epiphany was when, I was told to start applying for disability and stuff. And, but every time I went to the doctor or for my PT or whatever, it was always chronic pain patient. And it got to the point where I would see those words like in a bright red neon light sign, flashing on and off, chronic pain patient. And it was when after they gave me that even dire prediction, you're never going to be able to even do your grocery or your laundry in the same day. Your arthritis in your spine is so severe, you're going to end up bedridden, apply for disability, blah, 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 this horrible thing. And I remember I just hit rock bottom, and it was about 2 days later that it was like, wait a minute. This is not my life. I don't accept this. I am not a chronic pain patient. I deserve better. My husband deserves better. I need to figure this out on my own.
Good for
And
you.
voila. I
There
mean,
you
and
are.
it worked. And since that time, I've had to use that same philosophy more than once again. But it's so incredibly powerful. And when we go to people who are the authorities, the experts, and they tell us, they say, oh, it might be MS, in this casual, flippant manner, the impact that it has on the person hearing it is so profound, and you just can't erase that. You can't unhear it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is so important to change the script.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah, words are powerful, and we can't, like you mentioned, power. Like, we can't give our power away.
Mhm,
That's probably the most important lesson out of all of this, is that we need to take our power back in our
mhm,
own health journey, but also in the way that we think about, health and wellness in
mhm.
the Western world.
And so now, because you had mentioned the brain and, of course, the brain function, and where does the applied neurocellular therapy come in? How did you get involved in that? And of course, anything with neurology, neuroscience, I just go batty about. I just love it. So tell us about that and how you became
Happy,
interested in that, and how that can help people as well.
sure. Happy to share that. Yeah, how it all came about. So after I got better from my autoimmune, I was feeling energy in my hands for the first time. Long story short, became a Reiki master, was studying with a bunch of different shamans and medicine men, women from around the world. Had my own private practice of doing more energy medicine. And during the process, I discovered that I have three types of clients. I have the one that is once and done, like they come in, whether that is with a physical, issue, or with a mental or emotional disability, or whatever it is, once and done. Uh, the other ones are more of a, it takes a couple times, and or it's just maintenance,
Mhm.
similarly like you would go to PT or to a chiropractor. And then the third category is it doesn't work at all. And there's a little of the ego probably that came in for me as well, where I'm like, I'm doing the same thing that I'm doing with everyone else. Why isn't this working? Now, there's some people that will say it's not your job, remove all the attachment to the healing. That's up to the other person. I'm like, well, but they're coming to me. So there is some sort of like, hey, I want help. And my theory that I've developed during the time is something seems to be happening in your brain, in your thought patterns, and perhaps it's the subconscious thing of like, oh, this guy sounds like a bit of a woo-woo, but I guess if it doesn't help, it doesn't hurt.
Mhm.
Or I'm not sure, like, my husband pushed me to go, but I'm kind of skeptical. And it could be subconscious that oh, absolutely, I want to be here, but your subconscious is kind of going, I don't know. And so what I needed was some kind of a help to sever the neurological pathways from the cell structure long enough so that I could go in and do the work that I do. And so that's when I discovered what I use now in my practice is actually an LED slash stroboscope light called the Lucia. It's been developed by an engineer and a therapist, a psychological therapist in Germany.
Hmm.
And what it does, it penetrates the pineal gland and it activates your alpha, beta, theta, and delta waves. And I used it at first more as a meditation technique. But what I quickly found was that people that I put under the lamp for 20 or 30 minutes prior to a treatment react in a way that is almost like a bit of an out-of-body experience. So you can picture it like an LSD trips without drugs, right?
Hmm.
I was looking into psilocybin, I was looking into alternate ways, but the fact that all of those are still Schedule 1 substances, I needed something that was a drug-free induced zone that would do the same thing afterwards. So in essence, the applied neurocellular therapy that I've developed is nothing more than using modern technology of creating a drug-induced zone where I then can go back in, and similar to a craniosacral therapy and or Reiki and or very hands-on. But it's interesting that I can go way, way, way deeper into the aura, way, way, way deeper into the physical field and remove stuck pain, stuck emotions, old trauma that has been built up over the years, and people actually are getting better. So that third category is one that I'm starting to make progress on. And I just find this fascinating, right, as to
Hmm.
why people don't heal, because subconsciously, consciously, they don't believe that they can.
Well, I found the whole thing fascinating, especially when I watched the video on your website of the testimonials of the individuals who had gone through the, what's it called, Lucia light or
Lucia number 3, yeah, exactly.
Lucia number 3? Yeah, I mean, it was just amazing. I mean, they were just glowing, and the way they were talking about the experience and how they felt afterwards was just pretty amazing.
It sure is, yeah, and it is used in meditation as well. There is a study from the University of Sussex in Brighton. They used it with product managers that were, I don't know, measurable 60 or 70% more creative in the way that they were thinking about problem solving. And interestingly, there's just now a new study. Can't remember the university that's doing it, but it's on my website as well. In one of the studies that they're seeing early signs of Alzheimer's, so that actually people that are under the light as well, it seems to be doing something in the brain function as well that seems to be able to help. So, I think more work is needed to really
Mhm.
prove that it can do, but seems to be early indications seem to be that it's helpful as well.
Now, how long has this technology been available?
It's only been a couple of years in terms of in this, but the fact that there is something going on with stroboscope has been studied. I think it goes back even to his name was Wilhelm Reich in the 30s in Germany.
Uh-huh.
This particular technology has just been around for a couple of years now.
Amazing. So if people wanted to find out more about it, of course, they can go to your website and research it. But is this something, of course, that you have to physically be in your clinic or be in your place of where you do your treatments?
Yeah, that's right. It's I'm still trying to figure out, is there a way through Zoom, but as you can imagine, it is stroboscope. It would have to be, super lightning fast, so it requires a very, very fast
Yeah.
internet connection on both ends. So for the time being, yeah, it's something that you have to come and be here. But there's various practitioners in around the world as well. But it's on www.simonluthi.com. Go on there and or send me a note, and wherever you are, I can probably help you find someone that can help. So it's starting to spread. There's
Mhm.
more practitioners in Canada and the US, but there's a few of us here as well. Now, the big thing and disclaimer to it, right? So you can go and somebody will just say, okay, well, I have the lamp, and you can come and do it more as a, like you go to the solarium to get
Mhm.
tan. Like what I do is specific, tailored towards inducing you in a state of complete relaxation, followed by energy medicine, so that we can actually get to the bottom of what's
Mhm.
going on. So that's, not everybody does the same thing, and I'm looking to potentially license what I do.
Mhm.
But I too many other things that are happening right now that
Mhm.
prevented me to go
So I'm
deeper.
curious, have you ever had anybody have a negative reaction?
I have, yeah, and I'm glad you asked as well. It is definitely something that requires you to hydrate afterwards.
Oh.
Drink a lot of water. So if you think about it, now all of a sudden you start, messing with your brain, and we're liquid part, and so hydrating a lot is afterwards. I had a gentleman that didn't hydrate, and was severely dehydrated and didn't feel well, the next day. I've also had people that just cannot take the stroke, that were more in panic attacks. So I am learning myself, right? That's probably why I'm not there to really train other people yet, because I'm still kind of in the what you would call a clinical study, to figure this all out. But it has also worked with vets that have severe PTSD despite the stroke. So it's just, I usually like to just put a small demo, like a 3-minute demo, to kind of see how the person reacts. And you have to develop kind of intuition after a while of how long someone can actually take it.
Wow, it sounds fascinating. But the thing about the hydration, I think that I think that pretty much most of us walk around every day dehydrated, just because, and I don't know why. But people, aren't aware and cognizant of how much hydration really impacts our daily lives and our daily function, let alone long-term health.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. I think, drinking plenty of fluids a day is one of the main remedies, I think, to a healthy lifestyle for sure.
hmm Okay, so now tell us about the sacred healing.
Yeah, I love that. That's my very first venture after I was certified as a Reiki master and started to learn other modalities. That's a bit of my personal passion, because I work one-on-one with clients, and we really look at, a lot of people come in from a physical pain management perspective.
hmm
Quite often, there are layers and layers and layers. So it could be ancestral trauma that
hmm
has not been dealt with. There could be personal trauma that, we call and say the body keeps the score.
hmm
Uh, and So we're looking at what is happening in the first place, and we're really looking at, what needs to be healed out. Is it personal trauma that needs to be healed, or is it ancestral things I may not even know about?
hmm
Um, so my private practice really dives very, very deep into someone's karmic life, this incarnation, past incarnations. We do, past life work. I don't do, past life regressions, but we're traveling back to figuring out, like, where has all of that started in the first place. And these are modalities that have been around for thousands of years and have been practiced by indigenous people from around the world.
So I have a question about that, especially with like the generational trauma. Do you think that, okay, let's go back to your mom, colon cancer runs in our family, blah, blah, blah. So do you think that it's not just a genetic, hey, there's this, one gene that we have that makes us predisposed to colon cancer, or is it that, hey, it runs in our family, we're all going to get it, so nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, there's
Enjoy
the
the junk food.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm so glad you asked, because there's this term called epigenetics,
hmm
uh, and Bruce Lipton is one of the, I guess, leader in that research, as well. So he has a book out called the or what is it called? Body of Belief. Yeah, I'll of course now draw a blank. But he started to bring and drop this theory of, like, what's first? Is it a genetic mutation that's basically causing this, or is it because we are thinking that this may be in my future, and I'm still, I'm manifesting it, right? So to go back to my mom's fear, right? Okay, is that colon cancer? And we're all kind of going, oh shit, I guess, or even breast cancer. I know this is a really touchy subject for many of your listeners, but I really wonder sometimes, right? Is it because my mom had it that I'm prone to get it? Or is it because we're worried about our entire life because we're told
hmm
about it, right? So again, I go back to the very simple, um, you know, change your mindset. start thinking positively, right? If you were to just repeat and after and after and after, I live a long and healthy life, I'm healthy. And this is something that Louise Hay, did beautifully. She basically, all her work talked about different illnesses that come up and what is the positive affirmation as a result of it. And so I personally believe that epigenetics is closer to the truth. So just because your parents had something doesn't mean you are prone to get it. It's, I think, how we deal with the fear of something like that. Biology of Belief, by the way, is Bruce Lipton's book. So doesn't happen to you too. Sometimes you draw a blank and then like it comes back. Yeah, it's a great book for anybody that's wants to dive deep.
Tell us the name of it again.
It's Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton. I think you can get
Okay.
it on Amazon. It's definitely he is amazing. I love his work and has really started to shift our consciousness around illnesses and why things show up in the first place.
I recently interviewed a gentleman by the name of Al Lyman, and he decided at the age of 25 that he was going to die healthy because
Yeah,
he saw what his dad went through. At the age of 59, he looked like he was in his 80s and needed help getting out of a chair. So right then, that kind of changed the trajectory of his life and went into this incredible, journey of healing, learning as much as he can about health and wellness and all that kind of stuff. But it's really fascinating because we can apply this to everything, like even aging, healthy aging, which of course I'm all into that, because here I am, and I want to be as healthy as possible as long as I'm on this earth. But it's really so fascinating that what society, the media, the medical profession, friends, family even will tell you about, you can't do this because you're getting older. Oh, don't worry about that middle age spread. You're going to get it. It's menopause and it's just natural. Of course, you're going to lose length in your spine and start compressing and shrinking. It's normal aging. And I just like to take, punch Father Time in the face and bust those myths and those expectations. If that's what you expect your future is going to be like, then that's what it's going to be like.
that's absolutely right. Yeah. So, I have a favorite saying that, we should work towards that our health span matches our lifespan.
Nice.
And there's so many, things out there now to really do this. And, listen to your body, listen to what your body is telling you, even with food.
Mhm.
We haven't really talked about, foods in terms of, are people really picky? Yes, of course, sugar is one of those things that wreaks havoc because there's a
Right.
study out there when they have mice that are on cocaine, when they try to take them off and they give them a choice between cocaine and sugar, they will always pick sugar. So
Wow.
that's telling you something, right? But I always wondered early on in my own experience, I never liked eggplant. I never liked zucchinis. Part of me was like also my mom loved to cook this ratatouille that was just awful. Maybe it was, her cooking skills. Sorry, mom. Um, but there was something about it. I would refuse to eat it to the point where I was sent up to my room without dinner, the typical, 60s parenting kind of thing. But what's interesting about it is when I now look at, eating by blood type and I review what I should be eating for a healthy life, all of the things that I was thinking I didn't like actually are bad for me, are not something I should be eating. There's nightshades as well, highly inflammatory. And so I actually wondered sometimes, do we raise picky kids in terms of picky eaters because it's sugar, right? And of course you want the dessert first. Or is it really that do our bodies have the innate ability to tell us what is good for us or not, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes like, yeah, well, it shouldn't be. So I'm really now starting again. I've done it a couple of years ago, fallen off the wagon,
Mhm.
and really want to get back to like eating by blood type again. It's fascinating
Mhm.
to see what your body does when you give it what it actually needs and can process.
Right. I've never done the eating by blood type, but I just go by how do I feel about what I'm eating and, how do I feel afterwards. And I think it was in my early 40s. It was right after I graduated PT school, of course, healed from the chronic pain syndrome, but I was overweight and out of shape and really stiff from sitting for 2 years in PT school. And I just started cutting out things like my favorite food was pizza. I swear we had it 3 times a night. I mean, 3 times a week. It felt like 3 times a night. I'd eat the leftovers for breakfast in the morning. It was terrible. So I just decided I was gonna make a few changes, and I just stopped, the flour and the sugar and the processed stuff, and I was amazed how quickly actually the weight was starting to come off. Not only that, how much better I looked and felt. And then
Yeah,
I took it to the next level and started reading labels, and that was an incredible learning experience as well as absolutely terrifying. Sugar is in everything.
that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's wreaking havoc, and but to go back to the blood type thing again. So for my blood type, I have the what they call the original blood type. It's all hunter gatherer,
Mhm.
and you could say paleo is probably the best thing for me. But like interestingly enough, that so even my clinic in Switzerland said, "Oh, you're gluten intolerant," and they say on this blood type, do not eat any wheat, any grains, anything like that. It's bad for you. Like not even supplementation as to rice and or other alternative or old grains. Like just don't eat it. And the second thing is dairy, so cow mostly.
Mhm.
And I've had inflamed sinuses and stuffy noses like all the time. I
Mhm.
let another clinic do sinus surgery on it, and I lost my sense of smell. And
Ah,
now, in hindsight, oh my God, had I known that information and just get off dairy and
mhm.
try that for a month or two, because
Mhm.
when I eat dairy now, I feel it immediately, and when I'm not, I can breathe. It's free and all that. So
Mhm.
um, it's a fascinating subject off too. So I think
Mhm.
the standard diets is not it doesn't fit all people. I think this blood test or not the blood type.
Mhm.
I don't even call it dieting, eating basically.
Mhm.
There's something there because I feel so much better when I do it.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm really not a sugar fan. I mean, do not take away my dark chocolate. But as far as I'm concerned, that's healthy. It's got the antioxidants. I don't eat the cheap stuff. But I don't really have sugar cravings. And once I stopped eating sugar, I didn't miss it.
That's right. Yeah, it's like you cut it out. It's a bit hard
Mhm.
for a month,
Mhm.
but you will see. Like all of a sudden, I used to be a big dessert chocolate guy. Being from Switzerland, I mean, how can you not? But
Right.
I don't really crave desserts at all. It's more the salty, savory things, that
Mhm.
come.
Yeah.
So again, I think when we eat based on what we need and what our body needs, there's
Mhm.
a lot to be said about it.
Mhm. Okay, now let's talk about the Healthee. Hang on a second. Let me bring the Healthee Inc. And just so the listeners know, it is spelled HEALTHEE Inc.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, this came about, and EE stands for employee engagement. So, for
Mm.
those that wonder, it's a little catchy with the healthy. I go back to my days in my corporate job. So I spent 20 years in financial services and a great career.
Wow.
Also part of it, probably that made me sick, and it was time for change. What was interesting to me is I felt as a leader in this company, I needed to be authentic about my healing journey, and
Mhm.
I just took it upon myself to talk about it openly, what I went through, with the hope that hey, maybe some other people learn something from that. And of course, then in company lunches, the hamburgers and the hot dogs and the sandwiches were gone, and they were replaced by more calorie rich, nutrient rich, but or I should say calorie poor and nutrient rich
Mhm.
foods. And it was interesting what started to happen. So like they call me the green smoothie evangelist. Um, People started to have a dialogue about it, right? Even mindfulness and meditation was something that people didn't really know what to do. When you come in and like, oh, okay, just take a deep breath, and most
Mhm.
people, roll their eyes.
Mhm.
Uh, and so that was really when I started to get into what is a mindfulness program for the corporations looking like that we need, more shorter. Hey, I had a stressful meeting. I need to kind of calm myself down. I have 2 minutes and I got to run in my next one. So Healthee basically is a software as a service platform that I'm offering up to employers as kind of an adjacent health benefit to keep people healthy and get them healthy when they have a health crisis. So there's, practical articles on like, hey, I have this. What do I do about it?
Mhm.
There is meditation exercises on there. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to just give people better and other vehicles, to get healthy, to stay healthy, and
Mhm.
start to have a dialogue around, what does it mean? The times are gone when it's just about the food pyramid and all this stuff. It just doesn't. It's just outdated.
Mhm.
And I also feel, based on what we have seen in the pandemic, that if you as an employer actually invest in your workforce and you care, and health is one example of that,
Mhm.
people are more prone to stay. So to me, it's the new employee loyalty, where if I work somewhere that I feel like, hey, they deeply care about me and I have the tools, to be me, do me, and so it's that's really kind of
Mhm.
why I'm on a mission and have started it.
Well, it makes the employees more productive too. And then the health costs to the employer are going to be lower. So
That's
it
absolutely
just
right.
makes perfect sense.
That's absolutely right. And I mean, like, when we know that healthcare cost is, next to salary, the next largest expense for an employer, it's nuts, right? And so you should start looking into, keeping your employees healthy, because if, we're all still in a capitalistic system and the bottom line counts.
Mhm.
And I think it's a win-win for everyone.
Mhm. Absolutely. So, Simone, where can people find you? How can they get a hold of you? Are you available for consultation?
Yeah, absolutely. So probably the best is, there's my main website, www.simonluthi, simonluthi.com. There's a contact form. Send me a note, send me an email. And then if you're interested in my private practice, that's www.sacredhealing.us. There's a contact form there as well, and that is available for, remote consultation or in person. And yeah, if I can be of any help and
Mhm.
resource, right, drop me a note. Love to hear from you.
Okay, great. Here's a $1 million question, because I know you can't do the Lucia or Lucia 3 light, whatever it is, over Zoom, of course. But can you work with people online?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah. For most things, it's working through time and space.
Mhm.
And that's I do that. As I said, I work with people all over the world. So absolutely.
I would have to say that's probably one of the few blessings that has come out of the pandemic, is that we learned we can do a lot more long distance and a lot more virtually than we thought we could.
Right. Absolutely. And it also,
Mhm.
I think, has brought, hey, we can actually do a lot more from home and spend more quality time with the people we love, rather than, being stressed in commute.
Oh God, yeah, the traffic around here is terrible, but that's a conversation for another day as well. So, Simone, do you have like one final pearl of wisdom that you would like to leave with the audience?
Yeah, I would definitely say, pay attention to the symptoms, what's happening in your body, what is not in congruence, and embrace it. Don't fight it, embrace it, and start to look for, like, all right, something is aching. What do I need more of? What do I need
Mhm.
less of? And you know, positive mindset, I would say,
Mhm.
is the other. Positive affirmations more often than, and stay
Mhm.
off the news, please, people. It's just drags us all down. Yes, we want to be informed, but be more in nature and spend time in loving yourself.
Mhm. Absolutely. Wow. Okay. Thank you so much. And thank you for being here. It's been an honor to have you on the show. And you're absolutely delightful to talk to.
Oh, thanks, Cheryl. Thanks for having me.
And everybody, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. Make sure that you do go and check out Simone's website, check out his social media, and connect with him. Drop him a line if you do have any questions. Obviously, he's very knowledgeable and very willing to help all of us be healthy and vibrant and disease free. And it can be done, just as he says, change your mindset. Positive affirmations, take charge of your health. And I will add another little caveat: love yourself and your body with all your heart. And that is the way of the FemiNinja.